Hey everyone, big GT fan here. I'm back. Sorry about the long wait, but yeah, bit of stuff happening around and everything. So I just turn this game down. But yeah, a lot of stuff been happening lately, and now I'm gonna get back in the swing of things. So today we're gonna do a review on the XY GTHO Phase 3. This car was released in 1970. After the success of the phase 2 at Bathurst, so they had to get ready for 1971 Bathurst. So this car was to be the successor to the phase 2, which, in my opinion, the phase 2 was better in quality, like all the badging, more chrome, more power. Like this thing was actually rev limited, where phase 2 never had a rev limiter. So same again, 351 Cleveland. Now the shaker scoop and everything, Bill Burke had a XW GT which had a 428 Cobra jet engine, and they borrowed off of that. And the show car for 1968, they actually borrowed, on the 351, they borrowed the shaker scoop, and the bonnet pins. As you can see, the bonnet pins are actually recessed. They're not the type like what was on the phase 2, the XW. These did have a rev limiter, where the phase 2 didn't, which was actually bolted to the firewall instead of the, on a 351 Mustang, they're actually bolted on the radiator support. So with the rev limiters, what they did was they just shorted out because it got too hot because of the HM headers on these phase 3s. So yet again, 780 Holley, solid camshaft. This car, as people know from the Australian movies, the Australian movies. Okay, everyone knows Running on Empty. Well, Running on Empty. If you actually know the cars in that, the car was not a phase 3, a genuine phase 3. It was actually a replica. And there's a scene in that movie where when Mike pulls into the service station, you can actually hear that the 351 had a hydraulic camshaft. It was hydraulic and had hydraulic lifters, so it wasn't solid camshaft. As big, and the mirrors, never had teardrop mirrors. Actually had XAXB teardrop mirror, actually XAXB mirrors on that car in that movie. And one that they actually burnt, and the car that they were using was actually automatic, not manual. And from history, there was only one GTHO Phase 3 that was actually optioned with the automatic, which was sent back through Ford and got actually a manual put back in it because they couldn't work out idling. But XW GTHO Phase 1 was the only car known of with an automatic. Now this car here, it had, as you can see, vacuum tank. Had the vacuum tank for the brake booster. Had twin point. It actually had twin point distributor, 780 Holley. It had a bigger 55 amp, and as you can see here, bigger 55 amp alternator. They did run a snorkel. They did run the snorkel block off on the shaker, as you can see there. So most of these cars never ran a snorkel. They had 9-inch Detroit locker diff, with a 3:325 diff ratio. I know John Goss at Bathurst, he actually optioned his car with, he actually didn't have the locker, he actually had the limited slip. Inside you had you know, you didn't have a remote mirror. The mirrors were actually, left-hand mirror was actually optional. Radio was actually optional in this. You had the full instrument dash, which I reckon was a hassle, like looking down because you had to take your visor. And right here, some Phase 3s actually had a sign, actually had a sticker on the dashboard that said "Caution: do not wind windows down at in excess of 100 miles an hour." That's because the wind draft in the car would actually blow the back window out, believe it or not. So, but Alan Moffat, God rest his soul now, he's got dementia now. He's in a nursing home. The poor bugger. He done the race again on his own in 1971. He was a lap ahead of the rest of the field, and his top speed down Conrod, I think they clocked him at 155 miles an hour. And this is the car he didn't pee in. It was the Phase 2. But he was a lap ahead. He was one and a bit laps ahead of the finishing leader. So, like again, like same as the Phase 2, vinyl, black leather with vinyl trim. The Fairmonts actually carried the GTs actually had the same interior as the Fairmont. Now all option. Now all the stripes on these cars and everything too were an option. They were all an option. Like you could get. Let's see if I can do it. I'll see if I can do it on this game. But you can actually You could actually buy an XY. You could buy an XY Falcon GTHO with no stripes, no bonnet pins, no spotlights. If you didn't want the spotlights, you didn't have to have them. You didn't have to have the stripes. The shaker even, you had the shaker. Even your rear spoiler was optioned back then. Other options included the left-hand mirror. They never come out with the left-hand mirror. That was an option back in '71. Laminated windscreen, like this here, has got the factory toughened glass windscreen. Spoiler, as I said, and then you had, let's see if I can change it. Then you had all your different colors. You had all different colors and designs. I'll go to paints and I'll show you. Sorry about this. I'll go to paints. Now, the factory paints that the car came with was okay. We had okay. There we go. Now I can get into it. Okay, for manufacturing colors, we had ultra white, track red, vermilion fire, which was like an orange / red. That was the most popular color. After this, we had the nugget gold, surfer orange, which was very rare in the Phase 3. Only about 4 were made for surfer orange. Yellow ochre, jewel green. This was true blue, electric blue. Many Phase 3s were actually built with electric blue. Wild violet, which if you're ever painting an XY Falcon like my cousin Tim did, well, he actually has found out now that color is so unstable. You have to literally keep the maintenance up to it, or the paint will lift. And it will like start crazing and cracking and stuff everywhere. So yeah, best stay away from the Onyx Black. There was only one done in Onyx Black, and that's a one of one car. It's actually got a sunroof. It's got all the deleted options as well, except for, oh no, sorry, that's fully optioned, except for it doesn't have the yeah, what is it? There's something. It does have. It does not have one mirror. It's got the twin mirrors. Frost pewter, and we got diamond, and we got ultra white. Now the ultra white is what Paul Carthew actually used to have. And he used to drive his all the time. Actually regretted selling his. Actually, I don't know if he still got it, but he had the Phase 4 as well, which I'll do in another video. But yeah, this car was actually the fastest four-door production car in the world in 1971. So it had a lot, and it was actually optioned. Not many people know this, but you could actually have an XY GT. You could literally have your XY GT like that, with no stripes, no hood blackouts, no bonnet blackouts. You could literally have just a factory coloured XY Phase 3 that was low key, that went hard. And GTs were the same. But yeah, other than that, yeah, these cars were, they were fast for their time. Braking, it was an XY Falcon back then. We had to work out literally work out brakes and suspension of these cars. So anyway, it's Alan Moffat, when he drove this car at Bathurst, he said he had a problem of the seats in it. He was just constantly moving and slammed into the doors all the time. Going down around corners, he's slamming into the door because he had a pillow. So, but anyway, like this, the Revlin, but had this car had the Phase 4 not end, we wouldn't have, the GTHO, we would have had it through to the XB, and probably the GT would have lived on. But once they lost the race model after the Phase 4 cancellation, the XY was actually, it didn't win in 72, it comes second in 72, and it actually won the 1973 championship with Alan Moffat, where his number 9 car, it was fully worked. It had all the high upgrades and stuff, and then you had Pete Gagan's car in Proof Production, which they called back then was a Super Falcon, but that's another story. But they were the only ones that were left to carry the torch for Ford, and it was probably the last win for a couple of years until 73, when Moffat again beat Brock in 1973 due to fuel issues. If they didn't have fuel issues, Brock said they could have won that 72 race or 73 race easily. So, but up till then, they had the XA by then, Bathurst. So, but this car, had it been, but running on empty, like people say, they used a real Phase 3, they shouldn't have torched it and all this. Well, guess what? They weren't Phase 3s. They were all replica GTs. They were built by, they were just built out of Falcons because they were easy to replace. So, and you had the chin spoiler, you had the spoiler underneath that was to compensate the weight, to weigh it down. So on articulating tracks and stuff, it had some downforce, but really they were useless. In 1972, they actually didn't have the rear spoiler on their cars. In 1972, they actually ditched it, and the front spoiler because they kept breaking. So, but other than that, similarities with the Mustang, like the interior cues. Steering wheel came off the Mustang. Shaker off the Mustang, 1969 Mustang. The 351 Boss engine. It was actually a Boss engine. So all GT engines were actually a factory Boss engine from the Mustang, and the Phase 3s had the factory 36-gallon tank with the spare on top. Was an option. You could actually option a 16.5-gallon tank as well. And I'll just start her up and we'll have a listen. You can hear. Rev the 6,500 RPM. So yeah, it like had a probably they probably revved to about 7,500 RPM in top gear. So it was probably done about 160 as the Phase 4 did that got cancelled. So it was depending on the track and really what tracks and what they were racing, because I know the race models, they never had the rev limiter. They'd literally blow them up. I know Kingsley Himbard, he actually blew up his Phase 3, and which was sort of another version of the Super Falcon for improved production. So yeah, but I reckon brick like how this was, this set the trend for the the race cars of that era. And then Fred Gibson, the funny story with him in 1972, used to have the console down beside the seat here. He said that because the race being so long and stuff, what he used to do is he used to cut up oranges and stuff and literally put them in the console. So he said when he rolled his in 72, when it went over, literally all this cut up orange and stuff went all over the ground and all over him. So but that was back in them days where you had these cars that were brick like that it's just so much power, like 300 horsepower. This car was rated at 300 horsepower, which was a distinct lie. They actually had about 780 sorry, not 780, 300, about 360 or 380 horsepower. It was just for insurance purposes, and they toned it down. They toned down the power rating, but it was actually been proven it's got that they could factor like 370 horsepower, and they were capable of well over speeds of 140 mile an hour. 100, like I think Wheels magazine done a photo shoot down the Hume of one doing well over 140 mile an hour. So yeah, had the GTHO Phase 4 lived on it, it would have, we would have got the XB Phase 5 and stuff. And but there is one thing I'm gonna say. Everyone says every time if someone sees an XB hardtop, they always say, oh, they're the last of the V8s. No, there's a correction there. They weren't the last of the Falcon V8. The XE ESP in 1972. In 1982, the XE Falcon ESP was actually the last of the V8s. The XB hardtop, the XB and the XCs were the last of the V8 coupes, but the V8 still lived on. It was up until 82, and then they went out of racing, and then the V8 didn't come back to the Falcon until 1991, where they done a concept of the EBGT or EAGT, which had a 351 Windsor. So yeah, the V8. So yeah, if you ever hear someone say, "Oh, last of the V8s, and they refer to an XC hardtop. Well, that's not true. It's actually the XDs and XEs actually came out with the V8s as well. So, but yeah, had this car. But the reason why I said that this car was so shortcutted was the striping. No badge work. Like the XW had more badging, had the guard badging. It actually had all the chrome. It had more chrome. It had chroma on the boot molds, where this is all just plastic. There's no boot molding there, no badging on the boot, no badging on the bonnet. The only bit of chrome on this car, funny enough, is the chrome bumper bars, the chrome seal molds, chrome around the windscreen, and the chrome across the bonnet, the chrome eyebrows, the bonnet molds, and around the indicators and the front bumper. That more or less all the chrome that was on the car. So as you can see, it was well shortcutted. No thought. They must have been pressed for time. Racing. So really, yeah, it's the last of an era. And then, yeah, this was the last of the fire-breathing, HO Falcons, which were the high-output Falcons, but they toned that down as well for handling options. So, yeah, sorry I've been out for a while, but I'm back now. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Sorry about the game content, but this is all I can review this car on. And I shall talk to you later. Big GT fan out.